This is part 3 of sulfur and the gut microbiome. And what we're going to talk about in this part is what is sulfur, what are the benefits of sulfur, and what might cause a sulfur deficiency. So let's start with what is sulfur. Sulfur is a mineral that cycles through the atmosphere and it returns to our soils in the rain. It's found in plants, it's found in animals, it's found in soil, and it's found in water. Sulfur is the 4th most common mineral in your body. You have twice as much sulfur in your body as you have magnesium in your body. So it's the 4th most common mineral in your body, and you can't make it. We have to take it in our diets. So you have to get sulfur from your diet. Sulfur is known to have healing properties that go back centuries. It's been used by native cultures around the world in terms of using sulfur baths and drinking sulfur water from natural sulfur hot springs. It's been known for a long time to historically have health benefits, to make people feel better. Dr. Stephanie Seneff, who's an MIT research scientist, and has done a lot of work, many published studies on sulfur and what she believes to be a sulfur deficiency in our foods. She states that sulfur is the most common nutritional deficiency that you've never heard of. So let's talk about how sulfur works. Sulfur has a lot of benefits, and it doesn't get a lot of press. So here I am. I'm going to be the cheerleader for sulfur. It's an essential mineral for your health. Sulfur has been shown to protect the gut and have antioxidant effects to improve intestinal physiology. They've done some mice studies and other rodent studies to show that sulfur actually reduces colitis or inflammation within the gut. Now, I use my sulfur formula, Geogenol 1, for any of my colitis patients. So if someone comes to see me and they have microscopic colitis or lymphocytic colitis, or they have inflammatory bowel disease, I will use sulfur as part of their anti-inflammatory treatment. And obviously, I'm also using it for my people who have been diagnosed with IBS, with SIBO, or some kind of gut dysbiosis. But the other benefits of sulfur is that it protects you from oxidative stress and cellular damage throughout your body. It supports building and repairing your DNA, which is the command center of your cells. It aids in antioxidant synthesis. So we know antioxidants are elements that protect our body. It reduces inflammation and supports immune health. So it's also something that's historically been used for joint inflammation and muscular inflammation, basically because of the connective tissue and antioxidant repair effects. It decreases allergy reactions, it decreases joint pain, it fights yeast and bacteria, it's anti-biofilm and anti-quorum sensing within the gut, and it's protective. So we have these linings of our blood vessels and lining and surrounding our cells. Anything suspended in blood or the blood linings has a gel form of sulfur, which is called exclusion zone water. So it's basically the 4th phase of water. We know that water can be solid ice, it can be liquid, the water we drink, it can be a gaseous or air phase, that is boiling water, steam, and it can be the 4th phase, which is a gel exclusion zone water, which is sulfated water, protective lining of our blood vessels and everything suspended in blood. And sulfur is also important for transporting nutrients around. A lot of our ring structures are not soluble in water, which is basically the basis of our blood. Is it's not fat-based, it's water-based. So we need to have the things that are being transported through our blood, like cholesterol, like vitamin D, like tryptophan, tyrosine, any of those insoluble ring structures have to have a sulfate attached to them to be transported around the blood. And in fact, Dr. Seneff, the person who says that sulfur is the most common nutrient deficiency that you've never heard of, believes that part of the cholesterol problem in our current culture is not so much from the cholesterol in the animal proteins that we're eating, but it's because of a lack of sulfur in our system. So Once I get someone through the protocol of the high dose sulfur and we get their GI symptoms alleviated, especially the gas and bloating symptoms, I'll often keep them on a maintenance dose of sulfur just to maintain things like cholesterol levels and cellular transport protection, antioxidant properties, because I don't want people to regress back into their state of symptoms. So the third part of this episode is what causes sulfur deficiency. So when you're not eating enough sulfur-rich foods, it can lead to low sulfur levels. And that's often the case for SIBO patients and gassy, bloaty patients because they find that sulfur-rich foods like broccoli and cauliflower and radishes and Brussels sprouts, those give them so much pain and so much bloating and so much increase in their symptoms. So those are foods that I actually keep out in the beginning. We go through and replace the sulfur deficiency, and then we can gradually add those healthy foods back in. But even if you eat a healthy diet and plenty of those foods, you still may be sulfur deficient. Sulfur cycle plays an important role in cellular regulation, and modern farming practices like monocropping and pesticide use have changed the sulfur cycle in our food production, and it's led to lower sulfur levels in previously high sulfur crops. There was a report in 2024 in a publication called Crop Nutrition that found that sulfur levels had declined so much in our rivers, watersheds, and soils that farmers are considering adding sulfur back into the soils. So even if you eat sulfur-rich foods, they may no longer contain the amount of sulfur that your body needs. And this means a sulfur deficiency. Another publication that was in Communications, Earth, and Environment in 2021 found that sulfur depletion leads to nutrient deficiencies. Since sulfur is so important for your gut, low sulfur levels can also pose this health risk. So you see that improving your sulfur levels may be critical to your recovery. And we're talking here right now about gassy, bloating, GI symptoms, but certainly it can impact the health of your entire body. So we'll move on next to part 4, where I'm going to talk about sulfur in your gut lining and sulfur and your microbiome health.